This episode is supported by Battlefront.com.
A world of hideous nightmares awaits in Kingdom Death Monster. Fight to survive or fade into darkness at the Kingdom Death Hub at beastsofwar.com. Greek mythology rages to life in mythic battles pantheon. Become a god and command heroes and monsters in a battle for Olympus at beastsofwar.com.
Good morning, happy weekend. It is weekender time. It's time to get some gaming. And I'm joined by the three musketeers of gaming. We have Justin in the chair, Az in the chair, and Ben in the chair.
I'm here in real life.
Yeah. I know, it's like I can actually touch him.
It's no longer a digital recreation of myself.
Dibs on Porthos.
And I'm Warren. And we're together, we're Beasts of War. Right, gaming. Okay, I've got a few little bits and pieces to say. First, Skull, I'm drinking out of my Viking horn this morning, so I'm just thought it's time. My other mugs are all now pride of place over here, so this is my drinking vessel.
Is it too early in the morning to have a Skull drinking game?
No, I don't think it is.
Can we just put that out?
Justin has warned me that everything that I drink out of it could taste like toenails.
Oh, great.
But so far, so good.
Although we are all rocking gaming mugs this weekend, in some description.
Yeah.
Yes, it's great. Right. A couple of points that I just want to cover. Remember, this is it now. This is final run into Gen Con. Mm-hmm. Next weekend, there's no weekender, but we're just doing massive Gen Con weekend, kicking off on Thursday right through to Sunday. So we have... Justin, Ben, Dawn, Gianna, all at Gen Con. We're hoping to get loads and loads of cool footage and sneak peeks and all sorts of stuff going on there. So come and join us over the weekend, and I have no doubt that there's going to be a ton of prizes as well. So
yes. Also, we'll be doing a Backstager meetup.
Yes.
On the Thursday night. So if you actually want to come and join us, go into the Backstage forums, Gen Con 50. Dawn has put in where we're going for our meetup on the Thursday night before Gen Con.
Awesome. How cryptic.
An American meetup.
Become a Backstager and find out.
Absolutely. If you're in the States, if you're heading to Gen Con, go ahead. Where are you meeting? Where are you meeting?
I don't remember.
All right. Okay.
That was why it was cryptic.
Okay. This morning also sees we have launched Firestorm Red Thunder. This is a Team Yankee campaign. So it's a new campaign where we're doing a fictitious World War III. It's the Cold War gone hot. The timing of it's impeccable. We really should have had North Korea on the map somewhere, but it's there. We have NATO versus Warsaw Pact. Head on over to firestorm.warconsole.com. It's going to be running for a few weeks. It's going to be awesome. It really is. The guys at Battlefront have put so much work into it. It's a live front line, this campaign. So every couple of days or whatever, things are shifting and the front line is moving and warping.
So you're going to see how the front shifts as people win and lose battles?
Yep, so it's kicked off, and the Warsaw Pact, so the Soviets, have already just right in through the Fulda Gap. So now what's happening is all of the NATO players out there are trying to contain it, and trying not to let them be themselves to be completely overrun. And there's scenarios worked out both east and west. Nice. So as every day, as things start to change and the map starts to change, the new map will come up. It'll update. Theaters will lock. New theaters will open to be battled over. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's a really, really intensive campaign with lots of updates, and I'm very excited about it.
It's a big marathon. It's a real opportunity to get in and get with your friends, get together, get a bit of teamwork going, try and get a leader assigned, try and get everyone working together to say this theatre is going to be ours now, and be ready for when they open and go and take them first. Because it is a marathon. You're going to have to go through the whole campaign, and you're never out of it. You've always got a chance to pull back.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it is. If you're signing up, go into your briefing rooms where we've done. And I think it's on the homepage as well. We've done a tip for players, because we're a few campaigns in now. We've learned a few things, and we're giving you some tips. Some of them might seem obvious, like don't burn yourself out. Campaigns last for quite a while. So this week has been Dunkirk week on Beasts of War. So over the course of 5 days, we've been looking at how we can recreate battles and games and things like that are associated with Dunkirk, and bring them to the tabletop. So we've looked at things like Dunkirk in 15 mil, Dunkirk in 20 mil, Dunkirk in 28 mil. Where we've looked at Dunkirk in the skies and Dunkirk
Like an operational level.
operational levels.
Yeah.
We have a ton of stuff going on. We've also had interviews from Jez Bickman at Games Workshop, where we caught him off guard and said, Jez, give us some. If we were taking the Dunkirk type theme into 40K, where are the narrative hooks that we could hang that off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we've been coming up with the kind of scenarios and background in 40K that would have had Dunkirk type events. It's been very, very interesting because, as I've learned, and if you watch the video series, you'll see it. Playing the retreat is a very, very different kind of scenario. It's a very interesting proposition. We also had Richard from Two Fat Lardies on as well, so he was talking about it. Some of his thoughts on how to play Dunkirk scenarios and looking at some of the rule sets that they have and how it might be suitable for that.
The big thing that having Richard here did for me is I did not realise the scale of Dunkirk, not just in man, but actually just how quickly it all happened and how much the land battles were and the canals and those kind of last holds with the keys and Calais and things like that were so impactful to the eventual evacuation. I never thought about all that stuff leading up to it and how the flanking, how the coming around, how the British, French and Belgian troops began the whole 2 weeks. It was incredible to have him here to get some insight from him all about it.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that I took away from Dunkirk Week was the geopolitical aspect of it. How Dunkirk effectively made the career of one man, Winston Churchill. That Winston Churchill, before Dunkirk, was a prime minister who was unsafe in his job, wasn't believed to be capable, just really wasn't believed to be the right man. Dunkirk happened. They were himself and the higher levels of command within the British Army were expecting this to be the worst defeat the British Army had ever suffered. They were expecting to lose in the region of 250,000 men killed at that. They were hoping that they could evacuate 30,000. Yeah. They got 360. They got a third of a million men out of the thing, and it was that moment that was the pivot. It was the point when Churchill. Because it was after that Churchill's speech about fighting on the beaches, fighting on the landing ground, it was that emboldened him, that gave him, it wasn't a victory, but it was a victory.
It was turning things around to be something much more than it could have been.
It gave him the ability to be able to then take it,
rally
take the bull by the horns, rally the whole thing, and to put the point across that there is no negotiations. You can't. One of the famous phrases, you can't negotiate with a lion when you have your head in its mouth or something like that. And it's like it was one of those defining moments of history, not just for a nation, but especially for one man. And it was fascinating stuff. Okay. We're going to take a very quick break to tell you about some hubs. We're going to get set up, and then we're going to start looking at what's been happening in the world of gaming.
Fame and fortune awaits in Blood and Plunder. Set sail in the golden age of piracy and claim the riches of the Caribbean at beastsofwar.com. From Viking halls to the cities of the future, terrain buffs will love our foreground hub. Watch gaming tables of all genres come to life at beastsofwar.com.
Okay, Ben, so kick us off. What have we got news-wise this week?
Okay, so the first bit of news is actually for Flames of War, and it's looking towards the Fighting First. So these are going to be the new US models that are being put into Flames of War 4th edition. So at the moment we know we've been looking at the Desert War and things like that, and it's been based around the British and the Germans, but now we're starting to see some of the new plastic kits coming in for the Americans. So this means we're going to see a new box set, which is Patterns Fighting First, as well as the new rulebook, as you can see there. But as well as that, we've got a couple of other vehicles thrown into the mix too. One of the big things about this release is that it's all going to be focused around this being almost the first introduction of the Americans into World War II in a way.
Yeah.
And so you can see a lot of the Americans coming in as very inexperienced troops, but we're also seeing a lot of heavy armor thrown into the mix as well. So they had a lot of the kit, but they didn't have a lot of the sort of veteran sort of level status that you got later on in the war. So we're seeing a lot of very sort of inexperienced troops, but some very cool kit being brought in at the same time, which is pretty
These
cool.
plastic kits are beautiful.
Aren't they?
They are. They have come
Yeah.
on so far from what we've been seeing in the past.
So the new models they're coming out between September and October. It'll be interesting to see how it plays. Now, obviously, we did our 4th edition boot camp, and if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. We'll get a link into the show notes. Where it was Brits versus Germans. It would be great now to see the Americans in the mix. It's one of my favorite movies, Patton. So I'm looking at this going, yeah, I got an opportunity to recreate some of that.
Well, it's quite fascinating because it means that we can look back towards some of the articles that Oriski's done in the past, where he looked at the Desert War and things and how the Americans were introduced into that. So if you want to use a little bit of a reference, you can always go back towards that, see how that came about, and sort of use that for planning out your scenarios and things. So,
I'll lay odds I know your favourite scene of the movie, Warren. It's probably whenever he just arrives at the camp, finds a man sleeping on the floor and turns to him and goes, "Soldier, what the hell are you doing?" "I'm sleeping, sir." "We'll get back to it." Only man in the entire
Is that how
camp.
you feel? Is that how you feel? Are you okay?
my favorite moment is actually when he jumps out a window, stands on top of a vehicle, and shoots his pistol at an airplane.
All right.
So there was a little bit more action to it than just waking a sleeping guy up on the floor.
It was that moment of he tells him to go back to sleep, and he turns to his adjutant and says, "Well, he's the only guy who knows what the hell he's doing around here." I find that funny as hell in the movie.
Okay, fair enough. Next up, still on the topic of World War II, we're moving into the Pacific Theatre, and we have Australians for Bolt Action, Ben.
Yeah, so this is them looking at a new theatre, obviously going into the Pacific and all the island hopping and things like that. We've seen a lot of the Americans being thrown into the mix against the Japanese, but this is where we're looking towards the Australians who fought obviously for the side of the British and things. So this is actually seeing a new army that's been put together for this, which is pretty cool. It's made up of a whole bunch of new metal boxes, as you can see. So there's some infantry sections as well as some of the militia ones as well, where they're sort of wearing a little bit more of their sort of tattered fatigues and things. But yeah, as I said, it also comes with some really cool, interesting bits and pieces thrown in, including some of the natives as well. So there were some of the natives that were brought in from New Guinea as well, that fought underneath some of the Australian NCOs, which is pretty awesome.
Really interesting history about them because they knew the local area, the way they could use the jungle and the forests around them, that they just became impossible to ambush, which is such an interesting mechanic because it makes them very, very different. They're all about reconnaissance and sort of like specialist stealth scouting.
Yeah.
So very, very different element to your troop there. I like.
Yeah, it's really cool, and obviously that's one of the things we've seen in a lot of the other theatres as well, where the British were fighting with the Indians as well, so they brought a lot of the native Indians in to fight for them and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that happening in New Guinea with the Australians as well, which I thought was really good. And obviously that was something that actually travelled into what was happening with the New Zealanders as well. So they had a lot of the Maori on their side and things like that, which was pretty cool.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, it's nice to see them sort of expanding things beyond just the basic troops that you get and things. So.
I think it's awesome, but I can't get past looking at the models and thinking about an episode of The Sullivans, really. So I'm just looking at it going, yeah, it's The Sullivans. My mother tortured me with that program. When I was a little boy, you would come in, and it was like, I remember it only too well. It was the same thing every week. You walk into the sitting room and you throw yourself on the sofa. When you see it on the TV, you go, "Oh no, not the Sullivans again, Mommy!" And yeah, the Sullivans. All right. On to board game news. Fantasy Flight have secured the license for Fallout.
Yeah.
What can
As
you
is
tell us
really,
about
really
this,
excited
Az?
about this one.
Yeah, so this is really awesome. This is going to be a 1 to 4 player board game. It's free alliance, so essentially you can work together if you want to, or you can go completely independent, so you can ignore the other players or battle against them. You're going to see all the traditional sort of Fallout franchise factions. You're going to have the synth, you're going to have the railroad, you're going to be able to align with those factions if you want and start to earn a reputation, get influence with those guys. And it all has the same character customization you can expect from the Fallout games. So you're going to have this special backbone. I'm never going to remember every single letter, but the strength, the perception, the endurance, your intelligence, your charisma, your agility and luck. So that's going to form the backbone of your characters whenever you play as a ghoul or a human. It does look like you're going to be different. I use the term races, but it's essentially just post-apocalyptic races.
Yeah.
Are a little different to what we're used to. And you're going to gain weapons, armor, everything you would expect from looting, collecting weapons and gears you go through, as well as companions. Dog meat, everyone's loyal pup companion from the Fallout series, is there from the get-go. The minis look really great. And what I love about it is it's open. So you're going to have different settings. You're going to play in different maps where you will have well-known, like the capital, for example, will be in it. You're going to have well-known places that you know from the franchise. But the map's going to be different every single time you play. So it's going to give you a lot of versatility for walking around and doing what you want. And if you decide, I'm going to go on my own, I'm going to just not going to team up with everybody, I'm just going to see what I can do, you might end up losing the game for everybody. Because the factions on the map actually will be increasing their own influence, increasing their own power while everyone's doing their own thing. So you have to pick and choose your sides and change them as you go through the game. And I think that's awesome. You're not just having teams from the get-go, you're having that fluid changing kind of as you go through. And I think that's going to be a really cool element.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. It's a lot of comments on the thread so far. A lot of people saying they're looking big into this.
Yeah, a lot of people on social media as well.
In other Fallout
Same
news,
thing.
obviously Modifius has something Fallout related as well. I think it's more of a
miniatures
pure
game.
miniatures game on that.
Yeah.
So we're
That's
seeing a lot of
Wasteland
Fallout
Warfare.
stuff, which is interesting because it's we're now starting to see these video game licenses coming through to miniatures games. Previously, it's been quite difficult to get them because the potential revenue that was coming off board games and miniature games really wasn't high enough to warrant the interest of video game companies. Remember, you're looking at video games that can turn over 300, 400, 500 million. In a release, and then you come at them with a board game license. Well, what are you going to make? Well, maybe a couple of million if you're lucky. A couple of million. Well, do you know what? We're a bit busy. But now we are starting to see it. Now, obviously, the likes of Fallout and whatnot, there may be games that are maybe now starting to come to that time of their life where they're looking at other opportunities to try and continue generating cash.
Because Dark Souls, we've had 3 versions of Dark Souls, and then we had the board game. We've had 4 versions of Fallout, and now we have the game. So it's like that generation. You now spent 7-8 years with the game, and now you're a little bit older. Maybe you've moved on to this hobby.
I think a lot of people are looking at it and seeing a lot more ways to use innovative mechanics and ways to bring stuff from video games into board games and stuff as well now. And we're seeing like very different ways of playing the games on the tabletop. Like as you say there with the Fallout board game, we're getting that sort of play it by yourself thing. With Wasteland Warfare, there's almost a solo element thrown into there, so it feels very much like the video game that you were playing as well. So it's got that role-playing experience going on.
Yeah, 20 years ago, you would have had Star Wars Monopoly, you would have had Simpsons Monopoly, all these things. But now board games have, absolutely. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of money in Monopoly, but the whole mechanic thing's a really good point. I think board games is kind of almost catching up in terms of what they can do.
Well, are there any particular sort of franchises from video games you guys would think would be really good to actually be turned into a board game? Now, I'll put you on the spot here.
The Witcher.
Which would be,
I think it was already turned into one.
Well, it'd be really interesting to see if they came back and did another style of World of Warcraft game. Because they did the very big adventure board game, which was massive.
Game as well,
but it'd be really nice to see them come back and come at that in a new way. Obviously, they've got Hearthstone for the card game kind of side of things, so that kind of deals with the LCG side, or the CCG, I suppose. But it'd be really nice to see them do something that was based around World of Warcraft and doing something in an MMO setting, potentially again.
Yeah, you could easily see a World of Warcraft arena miniatures game. And this is the thing, an interesting track you mentioned, Warren, like with multiple companies, the licenses are going out and they're saying, we'll try you guys with a miniatures game, we'll try you guys with a board game, we'll try you guys with a card game. They're utilising the companies that have a proven track record of making those kind of games, which is great.
What do you think of World of Warcraft as a as a full-on fantasy mass battle game? No, not necessarily rank and file, but would it lend itself? Does the world need another one? Is there enough? Is there enough that's different about the World of Warcraft?
They have enough factions to do it. That's a main thing, because one of the big things we've always talked about is that potential of having potentially 4 factions when you start off, just to make things a bit more different. Whether or not we need another big mass battle game, I don't know.
See, I would do something similar to Battlegrounds in World of Warcraft, translate that to the tabletop with some nice miniatures and stuff.
Potentially.
Yeah, see that way, having a hero plus a few minutes, so say 5 for an arena team would be something a bit more like War Machine. That would play out very easily, but I think that the high fantasy full-on warfare could definitely be possible.
And what about it as an RPG? What if it came out as a role-playing, or is it?
It did exist. It did exist as a role-playing game. 5-6 years ago now, probably something
Yeah.
like that. But it'd be nice to see them come back and do something new potentially with that. Especially now, as I say, mechanics have come on a long way, and so
Yes.
we're no longer seeing a lot of games that are focused around sort of complication, and instead now diluting things down to make it very easy. I mean, one of the big things obviously is that Fantasy Flight Games have the Genesis system that's coming out, which can be applied to any setting. So there's no reason why you couldn't do something like that. We've seen a lot of people working with 5th edition now and changing things on that front to just make it a little bit more open source. So Cubicle 7 have been doing a lot of stuff in Middle-earth with Lord of the Rings, so potentially maybe we see something in that vein being done using the 5th edition system to work and sort of slap on a little bit more of a...
5th edition...
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, but World of Warcraft could never come out with something for the... it's totally proprietary to Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
Well, no, but the idea is that you can use the very basic rule system and then just add the sort of layer on the top of World of Warcraft.
So you just reskin it to what you want?
Yeah, because that's
Well,
what...
I'm
that's
talking more about a commercial product, though.
okay.
That somebody going along to the guys at Blizzard and basically saying, yeah, I would like to take World of Warcraft now and take it completely into an RPG setting.
They already have the class system. They already have the quest system.
Yeah.
They already have the Fulgrim economy.
I suppose this is the point I'm
It's just
getting
a
to.
system that really would need to be created.
Is it too close to just playing the game? Because you could just play the game.
Some people wouldn't have a problem
RPG.
with that, though. Some people would enjoy the fact that they could take it away from the computer and still play it with their friends.
There are certain people that play on role-playing servers, but there's
Yeah.
others who like the PvP aspect, there's others like the raiding aspect. I think you would have enough of an open market that don't just play the game for role-play that could jump into it.
That would be happy to take it on the tabletop. If anything, I think that World of Warcraft... I have a thing about World of Warcraft, okay? Because it's...
Is it the Night Elves? Did they give you a thing?
It's the grind.
It was... I installed it all a few years back, and I went and I bought it in a couple of expansions and spent about 8 hours installing everything and getting it all up to date, and then I sat down and I thought, right, I'm ready to play it. And I sat down and I played it, and I snapped out of my trance probably about 12 and a half hours later and realized I have just spent 12 and a half hours chasing bunny rabbits and giant spiders and I didn't know where it went at all, and all I could think about was I want to plug back in and chase more bunny rabbits and more spiders, and I thought I felt that the whole experience was so addictive and that the grind was so necessary that I then uninstalled it, and I never went back to it because I was really worried about losing my life to it. And I know a lot of people did. Whereas with a tabletop RPG, you're still associating with real people, and you can get into stuff a lot quicker. You do not have to spend 12 hours on a tabletop RPG chasing after rabbits to try and build up enough resource to do something.
If I could suggest an interesting angle, then, is that one of the big things that Fantasy Flight done is they obviously had the Lord of the Rings card game, the adventure card game, which is very much around sort of a role-playing cooperative element where you played against the game and the quests. They then tried to reinvent that, and they did Arkham Horror, which is pretty awesome, and that did the same similar thing. Potentially try and do something similar with World of Warcraft. You have a very card-based, pack-based system, so you have the heroes and you're working together against the game. You bring out new expansion packs to take you to different areas
utilize
and
the
new
instances
stories
in World of
and things.
Warcraft and have, because exactly as you meant, having that drop into a set level or drop in for a set 2 or 3 hour or 2 or 3 session campaign is far more interesting maybe to some people than spending 70 hours start to end. So grabbing the instances and doing exactly that,
Something
even
like that,
role-playing or living card game or collectible card game would be awesome.
Yeah. See, I'm one of these folk in an RPG game. Is I like shit to happen. Okay, I like to feel like that we've
The pace is going.
Yeah, and that we've got through a dungeon. We played an RPG session one night, and the DM that was running it, experienced DM. But Justin, you might have been there.
I was, and Roman was there, and he was a genie. And you had your Sharkarosaurus.
I was the Sharkarosaurus.
Playing Hawaii 5-0.
Yeah, every time.
This was a strange night.
Yes, my character in D&D is a Sharkarosaurus. It's a human guy that can turn into a shark, and when he does it, the theme tune to the Hawaii 5-0 plays in the background. But one of the key problems that we faced was we ended up trapped in one corridor for the entire flipping night.
We had an analysis paralysis.
So what slowed you down? So was it everyone overthinking things? Was it
What slowed me down was not knowing what to do.
It's not you, but the whole group as a group. What was it that the whole group
We got
couldn't
stuck.
get past?
We got stuck. There was a force field, and the more we fought against it, the worse it got for us. And then when we stopped fighting against it, the worse it got for us, and it was just we just ended up.
Had you
we couldn't
angered
get
the
in.
DM?
It was.
I have felt DM anger before. It's not fun.
It was.
Didn't pay for pizza.
It was a case of there was an entire night spent trapped basically in a corridor. I think that the most entertainment we got was killing a few bullywugs just before that.
Yeah.
But then it just ground to a halt. Whereas I am very much of the adventuring in that I want to be darting through a dungeon.
You want to
I
play
wanna be
Doom
bum, bum,
as
bum,
an
bum, bum,
RPG.
bum. A little bit. I want to experience lots of different
I think-
rooms, lots of different creatures, and
I think that's why something like Arkham Horror would be really up your street, because the game plays and carries on regardless of what you do.
Yeah, it sets
'Cause
the pace.
as you're continuing to investigate, the game is still ticking over, and you've got to try and beat it. So it's almost got that encounter dungeon crawly style feel, but it's pushing you on to continue to do things. And I think that would work really well.
See, here's the thing. Whenever you're talking about your experience and what you like from a game, it almost sounds like an archetype of a player to me that likes to get in, gets into fight things and kill things. Whereas
Yeah.
I've played and DM'd with people who like the role playing, like to sit and spend 2 hours in an evening just before they leave the tavern, talking about everything, discussing backstories. It depends. It depends.
So
on
don't
the
get worried
person.
on that one.
You know,
Yeah.
if you jump into the living card game format, it's forcing you, and you guys all around the table are sort of agreeing, guys and girls, that you're going to go into this together, you're going to have a set goal, you're going to have to work through it together, and that's it. You don't have much room for role playing. You don't have much room to leave the game. You know,
This is the
so
problem a lot of people had with D&D 4th Ed, wasn't
Yeah.
it? That it was too much battle focused.
too many cards. Too
D&D
many
was
actions.
D&D 4th was, and it was 4th that we were playing.
Yeah.
It was some weird, badly made miniatures game. You know, it wasn't role playing. The role playing aspects of it had effectively been sucked out.
super unpopular.
And
I like it.
I think that was that was probably one of the issues, is the fact that it became so movement oriented that you couldn't just skate through a corridor and end up in another room. But I do feel that a sense of urgency, a sense of movement, it certainly helps in an RPG, because it's it brings me back to my point. When we're playing on the tabletop as gamers, we can get rid of a lot of that unnecessary grind that video games use to effectively pad out the experience.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It doesn't need to be there other than to make you feel like you're getting more hours of play.
And it's the exposition of it as well, where it's just trying to explain the story without you having to play through the story.
So
Right, so here's a question for you then. Let's say someone came along to do your World of Warcraft role-playing game,
yeah,
and you're trying to attract World of Warcraft players to the game.
yes.
Here's your problem. They are hardcore video gamers. Role-playing games have a decent amount of setup time and work to do before you actually get set down to play.
Yeah.
So whoever's coming along to make that game, would they be better leaving it open source that people just have to build their own adventure, make them to go through all the steps that a usual role player will, or would you sell it out as adventure packs?
Oh, it would have to go out as adventure packs.
See, the Fallout game, we just talked about, comes with 4 scenarios
Yeah.
that you're all jumping into together. So you'd like to see something like that where it's,
It's not that I'd like to. I'm quite happy to.
Oh, you think, yeah.
I'm quite happy from the perspective of if there's a really good source book describing the world, and I can understand the caste systems and everything else that's going on. I'm quite happy to work on that basis. But you know that somebody that is inexperienced
And
with role playing
used
stuff,
to having it all
those
go
adventure
through them.
packs are
They
absolutely
are a
necessary.
godsend.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
So
Okay, that was just something I was wondering about.
yeah. Okay. On the topic of fantasy, we have fantasy feasting. Is that fantasy feasting or no? Fantasy feasting. Okay. Fantasy feasting with HQ resin terrain. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so this is basically right up your street. This is little tiny dungeon terrain that
Little
adds
tiny
fan,
sausages, little
which is
tiny pancakes.
amazing.
Are they sausages? Oh, Justin,
Yeah,
can you look a
go
bit closer there?
back
Just
to the- go back to the
just
first
double
one.
check. Are they actually sausages? Get this man his clippers. Clippers at the ready, Justin. Are they sausages?
They could be
Regular and schnitzel. some kind of bratwurst, I think.
But yeah, so this is
Interesting and satisfying. Eh?
basically. Yeah. But
I
yeah,
do love the look of this, though. This is beautiful.
This is beautiful terrain, Ben. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so this is one that adds fan. It's a set of sort of tables and sort of all the things that go on top of it, all the accessories that go with it. For you creating both a pauper's feast and also a very sort of posh feast as well.
Yes.
Commoners and nobility,
That's the one,
they
yeah.
brand them. It's like,
yeah.
ooh, I'm not too sure. I wasn't, but I saw the commoners one. Oh, this is really nice. And I saw the nobles one, and I was like, ooh, I don't like this. I don't like rich people. They get a fancy tablecloth, but when I looked at it, right, And someone mentioned in the comments, which I can't remember unfortunately who it was, said at a great point, which is there's a horrible thing to have to paint your way through. But once it's in there, once it's in your dungeon, once it's in your tavern or whatever setting, if your whole group of rowdy rogues and barbarians have been invited to a masquerade ball, for example, once that's on the table and you see it just looks fantastic. And I love the image of someone accidentally your character getting a bit drunk, getting a bit rowdy, and just kind of arms sliding along the table and pushing all the food off. And wasn't me, or flipping a little 28 mil
The world's
scale.
tiniest table flip.
I'm sick of this game.
I'm tempted to buy one just for my desk.
And let's be honest, there was scientific research conducted, and it came back and it said that 99% of tabletop role-playing gamers have at one point been playing the game and realized that they were lacking a suckling pig to put on top of their table. It's now solved. Okay, there's not much evidence for it, but it is scientific fact. So there you have your suckling pig. However, for me, I think I'll be buying the commoner's one, Justin, because we need more sausage. Isn't that right, buddy?
Actually, the most sausage is not on this one.
Well, there's
But
three
on
different
this
commoner
one.
sets, three
Yes.
different nobility sets,
Yeah.
so you get plenty to choose from.
Justin, I knew
It's
I
all
could
this, so
rely
you can
on
put
you.
as much sausage on there as you want.
I knew I could rely on you to know which one came with the most sausage.
This really
Right.
is a sausage fest of a show. Right?
Okay. Right. Justin,
Yes.
we're going to take a quick break. You're coming back with the guys from Guild Ball because we're going to be having a closer look at the Farmers Guild.
Yep. So basically, we get a bit of a chat about how they play, some of the tactics they run with on the tabletop, and let's be honest, they just look so cool.
Beautiful stuff. Right, we'll be right back after this.
Become a general of mighty armies at the Kings of War Hub. Take command of elves, dwarves, and orcs in this game of massed fantasy combat on beastsofwar.com. Take control of armies from the 5 kingdoms of Araucania and vie for the throne of the ancient king in Wrath of Kings. Master your skills on the battlefield over on beastsofwar.com.
Hi everybody, I've been joined by Alex and Jamie from Steam Force, and today we're having a chat about the Farmers, the new faction that's coming for Guild Ball. Jamie, I'm excited about this. Tell me, when can people lay their hands on this new faction?
So they're first going to be available on the weekend of Gen Con. So that's the general release for both Gen Con and retail.
Okay, so no pre-release, no nothing like that?
No, nothing on the cards yet.
Alright, the Farmers are going straight to market.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Alright,
yeah.
What? You have to do the puns. Come on. Come on. The puns are fun.
The puns are rife throughout all of the...
Yeah, it's kind of a thing in Guild Ball in general. Plenty of puns everywhere. The Farmers are no exception. If anything, they're maybe the worst offender for puns.
Puns
maybe.
and...
Come on, they're the low-hanging fruit.
Very...
Oh, I'm going to enjoy this segment.
Just really scattergunning them out there.
All right, let's start having a look at it, because we have the rules, but we also have the fully painted team, which looks absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
So can you give us a run through on who everybody is here?
Right, so these are the our Pro Painters PVC models. So these are the actual final versions that people will get.
These are the productions.
Yes, so these are
Whoa.
the PVC
Details.
models. Yeah, so they come out real nice. You got Jack Straw on the far end here. He's the scarecrow-looking guy.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Harrow with the pitchfork there. Windle, big guy. Grange is the captain. You got Bushel and then Peck, and it comes with a pumpkin ball.
Pumpkin ball.
Yeah.
I like that just as a little extra detail.
Yeah.
All right, now I love the design of these, and it does have that real aesthetic that Guild Ball has always had.
Mhm.
That it's the basically these guys, they're out, they're working the fields, but they've converted their essentially work gear into Guild Ball gear, which just looks so nice here. Any particular overarching themes with this faction for how they're going to play, Jamie?
Yeah, so there's something that's brand new for the Farmers Guild is that half the team is designed to be a planter and half is a reaper. So half the team will sort of, in very loose terms, set up the reapers and will use harvest markers to do that. So you might plant down a harvest marker and a reaper will get a benefit from being near or spending a harvest marker.
Ah, that's going to create some interesting synergies and some tactical flexibility across the tabletop.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
your opponent's going to have to look at it and go, okay, there's a harvest token down there, but which of these 2 or 3 reapers is going to go and get it?
Yeah.
What's the benefits to my opponent whenever he gets those?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's start cycling through some of the cards here, because we do have the rules now, so we'll start with Bushel. So who is Bushel?
So she's a striker. I say a striker. She is their striker. She's the only one that comes in the 6 that you get in the box. She's got a lot of stuff that enables her to do things a bit differently in terms of how direct she is at scoring goals. One of the bigger ones comes in with Cabbage Punt, which rather than generally when we go for those sorts of rules, you very much look at something which is a threat extension. So it just makes them be able to go further. With Bushel, she just has re-rolls on her kicks, which makes her much more reliable. She's quite hard to get rid of at Def 5.
Yeah.
She's can become a bit of a snapshot turret. She can kind of go off ahead of the team. The team tend to play like quite close together. You've got your considerations that go in when you're putting out your harvest markers. One thing that they can be used for is various different players like Bushel there. They can use those harvest markers when they're within a certain distance of them to kind of use them up. But any that exist on the table when it comes to the maintenance phase in the next turn can be used as influence. They get added to your influence pool. So just because you lay them down doesn't necessarily mean you're going to use them. So as you said earlier about the tactical flexibility, it's kind of, I'm going to put these down because this is my plan for them. There's counterplay to them because you can prevent players being able to get to them, but you will still get a use. And some people may put things down as like a bluff. It's like, I'm going to put that there because you think I'm going to go for this. I have no intention of doing that. I'm just going to use it for influence. But they can be trampled. So there is some counterplay there where you can go over them and just get rid of them.
I'd say a lot of people are probably going to be looking at it going, need to weigh it up here. Do I get rid of it? Do I not? Yeah. The one thing that Bushel has here that I'm seeing, which I really, really like, is that I'm open ability. That ability to just call out to another player and say, look, start my activation. I'm going to pay 2 of my influence. I'm open. Give it here. I'm ready to actually knock it into the goal.
Yeah, adds speed to her. Like as you see, you've got similar things like Blackheart has it. There's something very similar, where you can receive that pass from a player that has the ball that had activated. Very often you see in Guild Ball where you give the ball to a player that's already activated. That's essentially the ball dead for you for the turn, unless it gets tackled off you and then the ball's back in play because you can't have any interaction with that. I'm Open enables you to have that interaction, but gives you a 4-inch dodge potentially if that's at the start. Then you're looking at a speed 12 player.
Yeah.
And that's not slow.
Nippy.
That's a 20-inch threat range.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the size of the table we're playing on, this is your standard size Guild Ball pitch.
Yeah.
That's some monster movement you can get there.
Oh, yeah.
But it's that fact that there's something I find, now this is me, I'm not an advanced player, but there are times I find whenever I pass the ball to someone, and that moment of having to wait until I get to activate that next person in the chain gives my opponent that chance to get in and actually block them off.
Yeah.
So having someone with something like I'm open, and I'm away with it.
Yeah.
That just makes life so much better.
And it gives you flexibility. So say you win the initiative and you have the ball on a player and you're looking at going for your goal run with that player, you can kind of decide, do I want to go for the goal run with the player with the ball on them? Or do I want to go with Bushel because I want to save that player? So you've got another player that can also dish out some damage. You don't want to use them early to go for a goal because you want to set up for a takeout later on. Bushel could go, I'm Open it off them. And it gives you that flexibility that you don't always have in other teams.
I like it. All right, let's move along to our next one. So who do we have here?
Right, so this is Grange. He is the captain, the planter captain. He is all about putting down the harvest markers for everyone else to take advantage of. And he's a really sort of protective character. He can give out a new character play Constitution. Gives out Tough Hide to a friendly character model, character on your team. And obviously they get Tough Hide, so reduce incoming damage by 1. Honest Labour means that we sort of like Commanding Aura, but for his melee zone, means that friendly models, attacking models that he's crowding up around, are really going to sort of put the damage out. And you can see they get +1 attack, +1 damage, which is absolutely brutal.
And a big bit of synergy that comes in with Honest Labour, if you look at the back of his card at his traits, when he is crowding players out, they get a further reduction of another dice. So usually if you're making an attack, I lose 1 dice if I'm crowded out. Grange is one of those players, you use 2. And then you have the addition that if you've got Honest Labour up, he's giving an extra one, kind of doubles down on that. He wants to be in the thick of it.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that he's got a good lump of health on him, and his knockdown is on a 1. That first chain on the playbook there, if you want to look at it, guys, that's your knockdown right there, and it's a momentous knockdown.
And he has a 2-inch melee.
Oh, God, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's absolutely fantastic.
he's absolutely brilliant. So also worth bringing up here, just really pushing forward home the fact that he is a supportive captain is his legendary play, the huge tracts of land, which I'm sure is a quote you can guess where that comes from.
Yep.
So it's a 6-inch aura. He places down 2 friendly harvest markers within that 6 inches, so good spread around for the Reapers on the team. And everybody within 6 inches gains sturdy, which means they ignore the knockdown once per turn.
God, that's useful.
Yeah, so if you're like in the thick of a fight, it's time to do the legendary. It means that you can continue fighting far longer than you should do. Or if you really need to get that goal, but you're engaged by a model with a good knockdown, you can use the legendary, and then when that player activates, they can just run away.
Yeah, yeah. And then having that thing of having to make people work harder to get you on your back is really, really good.
So a theme that you've got running, I'd say generally throughout the guild, with Bushel being one of the exceptions. They're generally lower defense. They don't have much, if any, armor because of what they're wearing. It wouldn't make much sense. They're all just wearing working gear.
Yeah.
They all have quite a lot of health. So they are much more dependent on being able to use healing mechanics to their advantage and using the influence advantage they can get through the planting. So,
well, I expect these guys to be better fed, so yeah, they're going to go up bigger, stronger, better.
But one big thing that comes in with the fact that they have a lower def and no armor, counter-attacking can often be less of an option. Sure, it seems great that he has a knockdown on the 1, but he's only def 3, so the likelihood of him being standing up is quite often less likely because he's quite easy to get a knockdown on depending on which team you're playing.
Yeah.
So his legendary can come into that. We're pushing up the field, we're going to engage, we want to be able to counter-attack and sort of hold you off. So we're going to pop this so we get more of those counter-attack opportunities.
Yeah, and then the next turn we've got more influence to play with to actually let us do more stuff.
Yeah.
Or let the Reapers pull something in. All right, let's keep moving along here. So we have Harrow. So what's Harrow got?
So Harrow is like the planter. When you look at his card, we've got various different planters that fall into the planter sort of subtype, if you like. He is the epitome of a player that is a planter. He's very much all about just putting out these harvest markers for people to take advantage of. Sow the seeds, you'll notice in the once per turn column at the end as the character play. That's not once per turn, and he can take 3 influence. So he could just put 3 of them down, and that might be all he does.
If I'm reading this right, I think he can actually get 4. Because he's got the Look Busy Captain, which lets him do it for free.
So you can do that for free. And then you've got the fact, obviously, it's not a paid for one, it's just off the playbook.
Yeah.
If you happen to charge someone and manage to wrap, then you could, in theory, trigger that twice on a charge and then buy it twice. So you could put all 5 down if you get a wrap.
Tack 5 on the charge with maybe a couple of friends helping you. Yeah. That could be very, very crazy. And then he's got Charmed Animal. What's that do?
So that gives him +1 defense against animals charging him. So that's really useful for things like Ulfa, the bear, Fahad. But against hunters, he's really good. And then everyone's mascots that are becoming more and more involved in the game, he actually becomes a half-decent defensive player against them.
And he's a bit of a medic with that rapid growth or a 6.
Yes, this one more of those things that we were saying, like they're all about helping each other. And so this is one of those ones where he's going to heal everybody at the start of the turn, which gets everyone back into the game. They are low defense and they don't have much tough hide besides that character play. So they take a lot of damage because you get to hit the high numbers. And this is just one of those things where it helps players out.
Something worth looking at as we go through these cards is their influence. The influence that they provide and influence that they can bring. So Bushel only brought 1 influence. Grange brought 5. He brings 2. The planters will tend to bring more. The Reapers are there to be set up by these planters.
I'll assume this is the first of our Reapers then, Jack Straw.
No, this is actually another one of the planter.
Oh, right.
So in the core box set, you get, I believe it's 2 Reapers and 4 planters, and in the next box you get more. You get 3 Reapers and 3 planters, if I recall correctly.
So I'm guessing there's probably going to be 2 dynamics to the game. You can either play
Reaper heavy or planter heavy.
Or a nice balance between. I like this idea. All right, so what does Jack Straw do here?
So Jack Straw, first things first, we'll go to his influence. He brings 3 and can take 3, so he's entirely self-sufficient. And he's a strange character for the game. So if you look, if your eyes are drawn up to his stat card, look at his movement value.
2-4. Whoa, he's slow.
He's super slow. And at the same time, he's super fast, and that comes in through his character traits and character plays.
Go ahead.
At your post, during its activation, this model can move onto a friendly harvest marker or goal post within 4 inches, so he teleports to it.
Right.
At the end of his activation, he can teleport 4 inches onto a harvest marker. And we see during his actual turn, he can place down 2 harvest markers, and he can teleport for 1 influence. So he can really zip around the field.
Okay, that's crazy. He also has reanimate, which is it's one of those abilities that I've recently come to know and love to play against on the tabletop.
Yep.
But it's useful for him to have because he's not got as much health as the rest of the team that I've seen so far.
Nope.
He's only got 10 there, so having that reanimation that he can get himself back up, stuff the straw back in the bag, as it were, and then have someone like Harrow start healing him up. I can see that this is a team that's going to want to stand and stick together. You're not going to see them flying halfway across the field in different directions.
Something he does bring is he's almost like he can be a backup striker. He's got a 2/8 kick, and being able to one strength he brings with the kind of ability to teleport around. Those being placements, you're ignoring all of your
parting blows,
anything like that. And
rush keepers,
anything like that. And he's got another 2-inch melee. He's survivable. You can throw him in there even if it's just to provide a crowd out. He's one of my favourites because he's super tricksy.
Yeah. This does seem very, very cool. I like the idea of this character. All right, we've got 2 more that we know about.
Yep.
So we've got Peck.
Right,
what the hell is that chicken wearing?
That's exactly what I said. Seems like a
battle harness.
Yeah, let's go for that.
So Peck is a gaggle or a
rooster, I think.
He's a rooster, but I mean, like, what do you call a group of chickens?
Flock.
A flock, yeah, flock of chickens.
Flock of chickens. Yeah.
A gaggle of geese.
Comments below. I know it's completely off topic, but comments below, please.
Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah.
And it's another planter. So this one's a planter. The donkey is a reaper. So this is the planter mascot, and you see that when it gets taken out, it leaves fertilizer, and you place a harvest marker where it was taken out.
Yeah.
Pain response means that when it takes damage from a character player attack, it dodges away. It increases it's much harder to kill. The heroic play is incredible, in my opinion, as a brewer player. It is a one I don't
jealous
like to play. I'm incredibly jealous. The heroic play, when the cock crows, a 4-inch pulse, so from where the model is on the table, any friendly model within 4 inches immediately stands up from a knockdown condition, removes it, and then makes a 1-inch dodge.
Yeah.
Which you can see on this low defense team, being knocked down is their weakness, and this really helps them all get back into the game.
Yeah, keep going. Although I do like his character play cocky, letting him ignore status effects other than taking out is really, really useful because so many of the Guild Ball teams rely on putting bleed effects down, putting burn effects, putting poison effects on. So having something that can just sit there and go, no. That's fantastic.
And again, as we've mentioned throughout the entire thing, that it's really stopping the knockdown condition is what's going to hamper them the most. And this mascot does that fantastically.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. All right, last one. Who do we have now?
Big boy.
Big Windle. So he is the Reaper. He is their kind of murder champion.
Okay.
He's only got 2 defense, no armor, and doesn't bring any influence himself.
Yeah, what's going on here?
So something that's interesting about him, if you look at the first line on his character traits, he's the first ever character we've put in the game who has Berserk and can attack and can take more than 1 influence. He can take 2 influence, but he has Berserk, so that's 4 attacks. Then you go down to his Big Breakfast, which enables him to use those harvest markers, which gives him he gains 1 influence. So there's a difference in terms of the way the rules are written. If you are allocated 1 influence, that cannot go over your maximum allowed influence. So if that said allocate, he could only ever go up to a maximum of 2. Because it says gains, that means it can go over his 2. So he could make 6 attacks from 3 influence at +2 tack.
Yeah, I was just seeing that. That's wow.
Which puts him on tack 7.
Yeah.
He can be pretty terrifying. When you bear in mind he could be tooled up by Harrow, you could be set up with some crowd outs with the
Grange.
With your friends,
character play.
I mean, he can very quickly get himself up to tack, like a minimum tack 8, probably tack 9 with the benefits from the captain.
Yeah, and if he's on the charge, there's tack 13.
Yeah, and if he's tooled up and he's got the +1 damage from the commanding aura in the melee zone, he's rolling so many dice with all the plus modifiers. That 2 momentous damage becomes 4 momentous damage over 6 attacks. That's super reliable to hit.
Yeah,
and you can just go through most players.
Yeah, and if you're doing that and he's took a bit of damage, he's got the snack break, which can actually go off on his 5 hits.
Oh, and 2. 5 hits momentously, 2 hits non-momentously.
So it's a really nice wrap result. If you get a wrap, you pop that, you get an additional VP if you kill someone. You get 4 HP. It's something else that he's a first. He can actually recover 8 HP in his own turn.
Yeah.
It's a first since Season 1. Gutter used to be able to do it quite reliably.
So suddenly, if this guy kills a mascot, that's the worth of a player.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
Something else to bring in on this player before we move on. Again, move 3/5. Quite a slow player.
Quite slow.
Yep.
Stop slacking. When enemy models end an advance within this 4-inch aura, he gets to make a 1-inch dodge, as if they're like going, "Hey, stop slacking, Windle. Come on, we got a game to play."
Yeah.
And so the longer the wind up is on him, so if you go with Harrow and tool him up, if you go with the captain, put the buffs on him, that's 2 inches he's moved, and that's now making him 5/7, which is quite respectable.
Slowly edging closer towards them.
Yeah. And then what's the last one? Heal and Hearty.
So Hale and Hearty. So one of the sort of the things, the feedback we got from Guild Ball in the early seasons was that if you're defense 2-0, you've got this perception of being a momentum vending machine. It was a term.
Go in, you take whatever you roll any number of dice. You're going to get pretty much whatever you want, and you can just go and sort of farm some momentum up.
Yeah. Hale and Hearty means that once you go below 15 health on Windle, so if you want to do damage or momentous damage, any play with damage results that include damage no longer generate momentum. So like let's say Blackheart wants to go in and use Windle to bounce off him doing his 1 damage momentous double dodge to jump around him to go and score a goal. Because that double dodge comes with 1 damage, that no longer generates momentum, and so you have to pick a different result.
You've got to completely replan that goal scoring run because the guy that is your easiest to bounce off, he's not giving you any momentum to go for your goal anymore.
Yeah, and that kind of makes sense for the way that the momentum is generated, because the crowd are looking at it going, "Oh, come on, why are you heading him? This isn't fun. Boo!"
Exactly. So yes, that's the core 6 that will be coming out in the Farmers Guild box.
I want to get one last look at the miniatures because they are absolutely lovely.
It's stunning.
Do you have a particular favourite?
Out of them? Oh, I would probably say the captain.
Yeah.
Captain,
Grange.
Yeah, Grange just looks like that old grizzled farmhand. You know, he's got a real nice sense of character to him. I love the paintwork that's been done. And it's just got that nice Guild Ball flavour that you guys are really, really pushing forward every time you bring out a new team. Overall, what's your own favourite then? Seeing as you put me on the spot.
What's my favourite? I really like Jackstraw, but I don't know if I'm swayed because I really like him in the game, so I'm more pushed towards it. I like Harrow. I think Harrow's got a lot of character going on in his model. Like he looks like that sort of young upstart. So I'll go with Jackstraw to give you 1. But I also really like Harrow.
Okay.
I was going to say for myself, it's Harrow. Harrow's my favourite of this set.
All right, well, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure hearing about the farmers. Anybody, if you're going to Gen Con, make sure and get up to the Steamforge stand because this is something you're not going to want to miss. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for talking to us. If you have enjoyed this, get those comments in below. Get talking about Guild Ball because it's a fantastic game and well worth a look. We'll move on here. We'll see you in a bit.
Progress comes to a world of magic as science and the arcane combine to make marvels. Meet steampunk inventors and orc mystics at the Volsun Hub on beastsofwar.com. High-octane anime action is the name of the game in Relic Knights. Mount up in your mecha and battle for glory at our Relic Knights Hub on beastsofwar.com.
So that's what's happening with the Farmers Guild. I love the idea of these guys that you've got Reapers and Harvesters actually making the faction play the way you would expect a guild of farmers to actually do their daily work.
Yes. The only thing that was missing is none of them chucked you the keys to their combine harvester.
But would it be brand new?
That's an expansion pack.
Coming soon from Steamforge Games, a brand new combine harvester.
Comes with the tune on the in the
yes,
pack.
Absolutely. Right, Kickstarter time. Ben, you've picked 3 for us. What are we rocking this week?
Yeah, so the first one is the US IMP from, it's a set of new awesome sci-fi vehicles from Antonovsky's Workshop.
Ooh.
Yeah,
God.
Obviously these guys have been doing an amazing amount of stuff over the last couple of years, designing fantastic vehicles for the likes of Infinity and things like that. But this is them starting to look ahead to a number of different scales, as well as a whole bunch of different sort of more militaristic style vehicles as well.
Just
So
look at them.
yeah, we're seeing some really fantastic looking walkers, some flyers, tanks, and things like that. It's all based on a variation of scales as well. So there's 15, 20, and 28 mil thrown in there as well, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, so you can use these in all your different games that you've been working on. So maybe if you're going and playing the games like Grunts, which is a pretty big favourite for people in sort of 15 mil, these would be fantastic for that. But obviously as well, if you're going to 28 mil, these can be thrown into those games too. So you can use them in like Infinity and things like that. So
keep going till the eagle comes. Whenever they unlock the eagle, I had a little quiver. It's absolutely. Keep going. That's the small shot.
That's the eagle.
Yeah, but keep going though. There's a big shot.
There's a big shot.
Oh, when
okay, scrolling.
Oh, it made me so happy. There's just such variety in these models, but the aircraft in particular just do something to my happy place. They keep going.
Scroll, man, scroll!
They've just got so many missiles. They just the whole dropship element. Oh, here we go.
Oh, the walkers are lovely.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Bobcat. Oh, look at that! Oh, it's just.
So this was where I was getting a real sort of kick of like some Halo, but then I was thinking Command and Conquer. And
yes, exactly.
The Hell March was playing in the back of my mind.
Are these all unlocked?
I think
a lot of them are.
Most of them are at this stage.
They've done pretty well on their funding so far. So.
Oh my God! It rides on the back of it. Oh.
And as I say, variations in scales, so you can use these in the God scale, which is 28 mil, but also down to 15 mil as well, which is fantastic.
Okay,
so
can I
big mass battles and skirmishes.
Deep breath. Now everybody can understand.
Yeah, that's Kickstarter is disgusting. It is so much stuff in it.
My bank account is quivering in fear.
So it's about 3 or 4 days left, guys. So if you wanna grab some of that stuff yourself, I want that eagle from my Imperial Guard.
I said that they've made it quite sort of open sci-fi in sort of style and things, so you can use them for a whole bunch of things because they've got like the grim dark feel going on in some of them. Then they're very more clean look for Infinity too. So really good.
It would also be great for some of the Warpath stuff as well. I think it would fit quite well in. With that, so
or if you build it as a nice set piece for mercs from Megacon Games, build it into like a nice big tower block sort of board.
I am very tempted these days just to build myself a generic sci-fi soldier army.
You can do it pretty well with a lot of stuff.
It is so possible these days, isn't it? And then you could just rock into any gaming club. What are you playing? 40k? No problem. Meet my generic sci-fi soldier army.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks more awesome than my non-generic soldier army. Exactly. You walk in. What are you playing? Warpath. Well, look at my generic sci-fi soldier army. Oh my God, it looks even more awesome. Yeah, exactly. I know. So that you could play anything. You're going to, what are you playing? Infinity. No problem. Here's a bit of my generic sci-fi soldier army.
By the way, I'm going to place this tank on the back end of the board just so you have to look at it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, you're short of terrain. Not anymore. Check out the eagle. Oh God, what a beautiful, beautiful Kickstarter.
Definitely a cool idea.
From one that's beautiful to one that is probably just blown the internet up. It is Bones 4. Okay.
They've hit the bar.
What are we getting this time?
Okay, so this is the continuation
of
the
Bones
bonus line.
Wait, 1 second. Go back up. Right, so where are they at? 1.1 million already.
Of 30,000 goal. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, let's move through this slowly, okay? So, Ben, take us through it.
Okay, so this is them coming back for more for Bones. They've obviously gone through a couple of them already, and they did exceptionally well. And the whole idea behind Bones is that it's providing you with a whole bunch of soft plastic miniatures for you to use based on a lot of their existing sculpts that they used to do in metal, but for you to pick up for like a couple of dollars each. They go together creating massive selections for your D&D campaigns, Pathfinder, and all these other sort of role-playing games as well. So they've been working on a whole bunch of new characters. They've got loads of new minion packs, huge monsters as well that get thrown in there. Those are the ones that start to get towards the sort of multi-part scale, but it's pretty fantastic anyway.
You got my favourites. Oh no, wait. There's little baby cute dragons that absolutely broke my little heart. The wee chibi ones are such an interesting element for them to include because it really is a high fantasy, list. This one. It's the greybeards as well. There's collections of wizards, so many different caricatures. It's incredible the value. There's the little
look at the dragon turtle.
Yep.
What a beautiful. Never mind the sculpt. What a beautiful idea.
Yeah. And obviously you can see the scale of that next to the image as well, which is pretty fantastic. So you can actually, these are massive miniatures they're doing in this plastic.
Yeah.
Which is pretty great. And then as you can see there, they've also gone towards some sci-fi stuff as well because they do the Chronoscope range, which looks towards some other sort of variants on role-playing games as well. And so you can use these for dropping into your sci-fi skirmish games and things like that. So which is pretty cool. But
Spartans. Oh, go back, Justin. What are those wee leaves?
I will assume they are necessary. Incredibly necessary.
Clippers and green stuff at the ready.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a fantastic little Kickstarter for you to pick up. It's, pretty
More leaves.
Again, incredibly necessary.
It's one of those ones that's pretty easy on the wallet, and it gives you a hell of a lot of stuff to put together. And as I say, it's one of the things it's great for DMs, because DMs will be able to buy one of these, have a whole bunch of heroes and monsters and stuff to play around with. Try something new with your dungeons as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, because previously I would have been ransacking games like Descent, big box board games and things like the D&D miniatures, kind of tabletop stuff like Castle Ravencroft. But this just gives you so much more variety and so many more different sculpts. You don't have four skeletons the same, 4 werewolves the same. Yeah.
Were-rat. I think it's a were-rat.
Yes.
It is. It's a big were-rat, yeah. But one of the other things as well that's very good for this is great for people that potentially can't get their hands on Reaper stuff, because it's very hard to get hold of them in the UK.
Yes.
So going in on one of these Kickstarters is really great, because it's quite safe for you to sort of get it all ported over and things like that. There's, as I say, there's very few sellers of this in the UK, so this is a really good opportunity for you to get a hold of this stuff. I know Lance has dived in on this one.
For any of our European buddies, this is an opportunity for them to jump on board.
This is a good idea to get
Australian
a huge amount
of
Reaper stuff. For a pretty good price.
I've got to say, I sometimes struggle because of the sheer amount of stuff that a Reaper Bones Kickstarter chucks at you.
Throws at you, yeah.
I look at it and I get a bit overwhelmed. Like, do DMs, do they bother painting their stuff these days? Or do they just...
nominate someone in the group. I'm doing the story, you're doing the painting.
The thing about it is, though, I've got to say, looking at that, I was looking at it and going, yeah. Saw the dragon turtle. I went, yes, absolutely, absolutely. That I love that. I've never seen a dragon turtle before. That's brilliant.
The thing with this as well is it allows you to look towards a lot more of the sort of esoteric side of things. So potentially monsters and things that you potentially wouldn't have thought about. So as you say, dragon turtles. A lot of people just think of dragons. Why not take things to the sea? Do something with a dragon turtle. Do a naval thing as well.
All of a sudden, I want to see all the characters on the back of the dragon turtle fighting against a ship that's right alongside it. Maybe get 2 dragon turtles. Sure, why not?
Yes.
Well, there's a thing I'm noticing here, which is actually very, very clever of the guys. So if we bring this up on screen again.
Yep.
So look at the pledges, right? The pledges are all the same, but they're going by wave.
Yes.
So each one, they fill up a wave, they open the next wave. Fill up a wave, open the next. So that you know exactly which wave your stuff's going to be arriving in.
Yes.
I think that's a really clever layout, and it means there's very little thinking to what you're going to do.
Look at that.
Where am I?
Dragon, guys. Just look at it.
Yeah, at 275mm tall.
That must be nearly 27 centimeters.
Just over, I think. Just over.
Not quite 28.
Oh my god!
Not quite 28 though. He's just a smidge short.
Okay, on the topic of monsters, we've got one more Kickstarter. It is the monster.
Yeah.
It is the monster to effectively end all monsters.
And all life on Earth.
It's Cthulhu. So we've got Cthulhu Wars Onslaught 3. It's doing pretty well too, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ben, what can you tell us about it?
Okay, so this is another one from Sandy Peterson. This is an expansion on the existing format for Cthulhu Wars, which is a little bit of like area control style game. Similar in vein to what you might have seen from the likes of Chaos in the Old World and, to an extent, Blood Rage as well, actually, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the idea is that you're going to be playing as very different sects that all have a asymmetrical nature to them, which is pretty fantastic. It's one of the things that I know you really like, Warren, in your games and stuff. It's a bit of asymmetry. So they all play differently. This adds a new faction into there, which I think it's the Ancients. And they come with new powers, new skills, a new spellbook, which then also adds a lot more variation in there as well. All of these miniatures that come in the game are also 28mm scale, which is pretty awesome. So you can actually use these away from the board if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty expansive collection as it stands. They've also got a whole bunch of new sort of neutral monsters thrown in there as well. So if you want to play around with some things that all the different factions can play with, that's a good investment here.
Yeah.
But as I say, this is an expansion to the existing Cthulhu Wars, which is already massive. It's already gone through a number of different Kickstarters and done exceptionally well. This thing takes things to the next level, adds onto your sort of campaigns and stuff like that. So if you're the kind of gamer that's really into their, maybe you're the kind of person that really collects Zombicide and has gone through all those Kickstarters and really just loves that game. This is for someone who really loves their Cthulhu Wars. They've got some new monsters, some new Ancients to throw into the mix as well.
I tell you what, if you're a role player as well, forget the game. Look at the flipping miniatures. Those monsters are brilliant. I've got to say, sometimes I look at Cthulhu stuff and I look at something like the Unmen in that. It's a real Marilyn Manson kind of a feel. I look at it and I go, that's flipping amazing. I love that. And then I wonder to myself, is that something that these guys have come up with, or is that a creature that has been defined in the Lovecraftian background? I would love to learn more about it. Let me know in the comments, because I look at some of those monsters and I go, they're just so beautifully concepted. If you were gonna play it, I'd quite happily take those monsters and chuck them down my dungeon. That's not a euphemism, but I would. Because sometimes I love me a bit of old school fantasy, right? It touches me in places that it's hard to reach these days. But the prospect of having a completely unique, inspired monsters that you meet down a dungeon, that would be just awesome. I think I'd go with that over Reaper Bones for the models. Although there's more models in Reaper Bones, I like the creativity.
You get the game as well, so there's the board game there for you to.
Well, board game aside, just models for models. I think I would rather go in for the more unique, the more unique range of models there as a DM, because I'd be able to chuck shit at my players that they would never have seen in a game of D&D up until that point.
Gives you a lot of freedom to create and craft your ideas. What's this monster's real hunger?
Stuff that is genuinely scary as well. I
suppose it goes back to one of those things where nowadays, as you say, you could potentially look at it as an ogre, and most people will probably know how to deal with an ogre or deal with a dragon. If you throw some of these strange esoteric sort of creatures in there at the same time, you're changing things up. And maybe add a little bit more of a psychological element to things as well. Which
bring up my Unman, right? Scroll down a little bit. You don't have to scroll very far. But I know exactly, right? There he is. Look, right. I threw that into a campaign of my players, right? This is what's going to happen. First, they will shite themselves. Yes. Absolutely. Secondly, I will be make them shite themselves even more. Thirdly, some bright spark will work out how to deal with them. They will get a mini snow speeder with a Luke Skywalker in it and just get him to fly around the legs and bring him down.
That point you just said there is perfect, because it's going to give someone that sense of achievement that they worked out how to defeat this horrible new monster to. Because there's nothing worse than playing a group with one person. Oh, I know how to deal with goblins. I know how to. Werewolves. They're weak to silver, and you're like, well, I didn't know that. Oh, you really didn't. But if one person, they work out as a group even together how to do it.
All they have to do to deal with an unman is they run up to the curtains, they take off the tie backs or get a nice big long bit of rope, and then the two of them just run in opposite directions round the legs, and you tie them up. It's nice. It's nice. I just think they're brilliant. I love it. Look at that one. Look at that one there, the bloated woman. It's got a gut that just wants to eat you. I love it.
It's stunning, but I don't mean stunning beautiful. I mean stunning as in I look at it, I'm just like, what do you say? What do you say?
Stunning as in, what am I looking at more than anything?
Well, it's some of this stuff, like my favorite dungeon monster. I have a lot. I'm partial to the purple worm, Justin, I've got to say. But the Beholder.
You thought you were going to tell us about the monster.
The Beholder, it does something for me, right? I think a Beholder is just, especially in the fifth ed, where they gave the Beholder the proper teeth. He's no longer just smiling and grinning at you. He's proper teeth.
Yeah.
But I reckon there's one or two of those that are as iconic for me as a Beholder.
What about the Hunter of the Dark?
Nope, not that one.
It does.
It's okay.
I like that
but
one.
I wouldn't say that's iconic.
Is that the front or the back? Just tell me.
That's the front. There's the eyes.
Are you sure they're eyes?
Sure,
those are eyes.
Three assholes, Justin.
No, that's eyes.
For me, it's the Hound. Now, the Hound does look kind of Resident Evil-y. He's not as unique, but there's something about that tongue, that spawn-like tongue coming out that's just creepy, and the scale of it, the fact that they positioned the claw right over the 28mm scale figure there, just be like, I can lift you up. And just lift
For me, the Unman has an iconic shape, and I think you would meet packs of them.
It's very much
ravenous
sort of
packs of them.
The Thing sort of style vibe I'm getting from these, though.
Yeah.
It's the shape and
We are done. Thank you very much for spending your morning with us. Come across to beastsofwar.com because tomorrow morning we have the backstage version of this show. It's a whole other show. We're going to be more chillaxed. We've got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about. I think we've got a couple of cool topics in there as well. So please come across, consider joining Beasts of War Backstage. It's what gives us our lifeblood. It allows us to keep the lights burning, keep the equipment running, and keep bringing you content. Backstagers made this show possible, and we couldn't do it without your help. So if you fancy coming across, there is a 7-day free trial. We'd love you to come over, join us, and help expand our backstage community. And yeah, it's been good. Yeah. Thank you to Justin. Thank you to Az. Thank you to Ben. And most importantly of all, thank you to you. We'll see you not next week, but the week after.
I'll see you next week.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now, and be sure to check out beastsofwar.com for the latest gaming news and gaming Let's Plays. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.